In this video, I try out the OVO 04, a fully enclosed, compact, triple-screen single-seat flight simulator. The OVO 04 allows you to fly both single and twin-engine aircraft, and is equipped with a Garmin G1000 simulator panel. The video starts with an external tour of the OVO 04, followed by an internal tour and a flight in a Cessna 172 in and out of Milford Sound Airfield in New Zealand. So this is the OVO 4, and this is interesting because this thing has no hydraulics underneath. It's a pod. It looks like an egg, but it's actuated off a single arm. I won't get too close to it because Jeff Favignano's inside recording, but you can see there's a single arm goes into here, and then down the side there it's kind of cut, so this thing can twist. You can see it moving around as he flies. It can rotate and twist laterally, but nothing underneath, no hydraulics, just a platform, and then a single power cable coming in. The whole thing has a venting system because obviously you sat inside and you shut the door, but you can see there's a vent at the back here. This is the air intake, and then at the front it's got the extractor, and it also has a fan that basically moves the air around. This is where you get in here, so you kind of pull the handle on that, the door lifts up, get inside, pull the door down. And the beautiful thing about the OVO 4 is it's self-contained. When you get inside this thing, it's crazy. The immersion is so strong. There's nothing to distract you. Not like the other one, the monos. They, obviously behind you people can kind of walk up. In this thing, it's just you, the machine, and the outside world just disappears. It is something else. Come around the side here, you can see the control unit. So apparently, this is a control unit here, otherwise known as the fridge. This thing here's the screen, so you can see this is basically what Jeff's flying right now. We can see what he's seeing. Keyboard and mouse, you can set it up. It's P3D V3. I think the PC is in that section. Now, I believe the new OVOs, this thing doesn't exist. The actual machinery, the PC, is actually inside of this thing, so it's a completely self-contained unit. You just plug in and go. The installation is incredibly simple. Once it's all, physically mounted, they just turn it on and test it, and that's it, you're done. But I do like this OVO 4. It's my favorite really because the immersion, I think that's what gets me about this thing, is the pure immersion. You get inside and the outside world disappears. It's just you in a cockpit. And the other thing is, because you can't see outside, any movement that this pod makes, your eye can't see you can't see the pitch. So you're relying on what's on the screen, plus the pitch is giving you the kind of gravitational effect. So for me, this is my favorite because it's just an experience. You jump inside and you're simming. You can see the roll and the pitch going on here. I don't think it simulates yaw. I need to check that. I don't believe you've got the yaw, so the yaw would be like this. I don't believe the arm moves that way. So what you've got is you've got your roll like that. So if you tip your wings over with the ailerons, it's got that. And it's also got the pitch supported, so if you hit the elevators it can twist it this way, but I don't think it simulates that axis, the vertical axis, the yaw movement. So if you hit the rudders, I don't think it'll twist you, but I could be wrong. There might be some movement. Okay, I am in the OVO 4. This is the egg-shaped pod flight simulator from Virtual Fly. I've got multiple screens here, so I've got my GoPro, I've got another GoPro mounted up there, I've also got a lav microphone, and what we've got is we've got a triple screen setup, so screen 1, 2 and 3. We've then got the full set. We're going to fly a Cessna 172. Here's the cockpit here. Down on the right is the OVO 4's motion control. So when we're ready to have motion, we turn this on, and you'll see it'll kind of self-test. When the green light is on, that's when we've got motion control. The door on the left here, this is operated by this handle, so you kind of get that handle there and then you push the door open. With that door open, the motion control does not work. And then down here we've got the ambient audio, so we can kind of turn that up or we can turn that down. So we'll put it on about 50%. These are the fan vents. The ventilation is what keeps us cool. This is the main ventilation system here. And then it's onto the actual thing itself. Now there's a Yoko yoke mounted right here. This is the one that I showed you in a previous video. So you can see it's basically built into this thing. It's behind the panel. Then you've got the rudder pedals underneath here that we operate. These are the ruddos. So we've got, you know, proper rudder steering and toe brake, independent toe brakes. Over on the left, we have ignition key with the magnetos. We have panel lights, the full lighting, strobe, nav, taxi, landing lights and beacon, fuel pump and pitot heat. Battery master, we're going to put that on now. Avionics can come on in a second. So first thing we're going to do is come on the right over here. You can see we've got mixture is full rich, prop we don't need because we're on 172, and throttle will have about a ½ inch or so, and then we're going to go for engine start. There we go. Engine's now on, strobe light can come on. The parking brake, incidentally, is just like a 172. It's actually a big handle just under here. We won't turn that off just yet. We are in Milford Sound, which is a very small airfield in New Zealand. And what I propose to do, let's get the avionics on. What I propose to do is, you can see where we are here. We're going to take off and fly over this body of water. Then we're going to turn around and come back and make a landing. I've set us up for I think a 9 knot wind gusting to, a 10 knot wind gusting to 15. So with a bit of luck, we might see some actual motion going on as I get kicked around in the wind. Now down here on the right, you've got the magnetic compass. You've then got the altimeter. You can see that the barrel's been set for the airfield elevation. We've got the attitude indicator and we've got the airspeed. So flap speed is about 90. Stall speed is just under 50. It starts to stall at that point. We're not going to get up over about 100, if that. This thing is fitted with twin G1000s, the Garmin 1000s, ridiculously well specified pieces of equipment, which we're totally not going to use in this video. But you know, with those things you can navigate the world. So other than that, it just remains for us to get started here. So we've got the strobe lights on. We're going to bring the nav light on. Landing lights and beacon lights are going to come on. Won't need the pitot heats, and we don't need the fuel pump. In theory, I think you should put that on for takeoff. I can't remember, but you're not meant to run that for a very long time. So that's that. Let's put this GoPro camera down, and we shall go for a flight. Okay, so full deflection, left and right, it's all good. Let's get our toe brakes on, and then we shall release the parking brake down here. One thing I didn't show you is the flap indicator down here. There's a little flap lever, which when we put it down a notch, it will actually move the indicator down. I'll show you that in a second. Actually, we'll take off and come back, and then we've got the takeoff trim. I didn't show you that either, so I'm going to set that for takeoff. And down there is both. You know what? I'll just show you that now. Let's just show you that now. So there we go. So here's pay attention to the actual flap lever here. There's the actual indicator. You can see as you move that up, as the flaps raise up, the actual indicator moves with it, which is really seriously cool. These mixtures, you push the lever in if you want to adjust, otherwise it locks them in position. Down here you've got the takeoff. So nose down goes that way, nose up comes that way. That's the actual trim, and you can see that it's currently set in the takeoff position there. And then finally down the bottom here you've got the fuel selectors, left, right and both tanks are on both at the moment. That is the static air to pull it on. that is pretty much all the controls on here, apart from a battery test switch which you can operate there like that. But that's it. That's the full set of controls that you get on this thing. Okay, let's shoot for a takeoff now. So we're going to throttle up, push the lever in. The nose actually comes down when we do this. I can actually feel the movements. Full throttle. Pay attention to the airspeed indicator here. Airspeed is alive. And there's 40 knots. Now the whole thing is kind of jostling like this as I'm moving along this uneven runway. Coming up for 60 knots, and we shall pull back on the stick. The actual feeling of flying is you go from this bumpy terrain, and then the moment you pull back, it goes nice and super smooth. That P3D thing there always happens when we take off out of here. Not really sure why. Right, 70 knots. We're going to pitch up very slightly. Try and keep the climb speed going. And I'm just going to take off. I'm going to fly over there towards that mountain. We'll get up on about a couple of thousand feet, and then we'll turn around and we'll come in for an approach. Now I'm going to trim up a little bit just to keep the climb. There we go. I can go hands-free at this point. Trim up a touch more. There we go. Maintain about a 12-degree climb. Seems to keep us at 70. Now if I was to do this or this, I can feel myself in the seat getting pushed. If I do that, I can feel myself getting pushed to the left, and if I do that, I can feel myself getting pushed to the right. If I nose down, I can feel the pod pitch down, and I can feel it pitch back up again. As far as I'm aware, what the OVO does is it has a pitch control like that. It can rotate the pod, the egg, and it also has a roll control like that. It doesn't have a yaw necessarily, but when I stomp on the rudder pedal like that, I can still feel the movements, and it's simulated. He was telling me what it does is it kind of rolls and banks like this in order to give you the feeling that you're actually, you know, yawing like that, and it's actually quite effective. The pod does this, and it feels fairly realistic to me. Okay, so we're up on 1,000 feet. I think I was going to go to 2, but I think that's possibly a bit high. So let's just throttle back a bit, and we'll push the nose down and trim it out, and we'll just fly level for a little bit, and then we're going to make our turn just before we hit this thing. The OVO 4, this thing, it was almost my favourite. Out of all the things I've seen today, it was almost my favourite. But my favourite has to be the solo duo, I think it is. The OVO is good at simulating movement, but it's not quite as good as the other one that's got all the hydraulics. That one just feels a little bit more realistic to me. The OVO, though, does one thing very well: immersion. The immersion in here, I'm in a cocoon, I'm in a little egg, and the outside world can just go away. 3 screens, all these controls, and I'm doing nothing but focusing on flight simulation right now, and that I really love about this thing. Let's throttle back a little bit more. You see the runway back down there? There we go, let's trim up slightly. Totally forgot to bring my flaps up. Too busy talking. Okay, so we're going to aim just to the right there, and then we're going to sort of turn in at the last second and come in onto final. If this had 5 screens, one thing I'd like to improve about this OVO is to have 5 screens. The other one has 5 screens, and it gives you that wing-to-wing kind of view, which this just doesn't have. And the reason is because the door's on the side. And for me, if you could put the door on the back somehow, push the seats out the way, come in through the back, I think you could get 5 screens in here and you'd get even more realism. I think it would be super, super cool. Okay, let's keep some elevation going. Now, right now, I feel myself falling forward. It's pitched the nose right down, and I can feel myself falling forward. I'm just going to watch my airspeed.
500.
Going to take the flaps down another notch. Just watching my airspeed as I come in. Bring in just a small amount of power. We're coming down at glide speed. Really, I've never shot this runway before. Super nice, interesting runway to touch down on. Let's just let the nose go down now. Now when I touch down, you'll feel the bump. There it is. Absolutely simulated so well. I actually hit the left wheel before the right wheel and I could feel it go bang, bang, bang as it settled down. Full idle. Let's turn the flaps back up. But yeah, this is the Ovo, and I don't know. I would love to have one of these things in my garage at home, or I think my wife would kill me if I even tried. But they're not cheap, but they are certainly completely awesome. In a flight school, this would be a super cool thing to have. You know, you can teach people on this thing pretty well. Let's go for another takeoff. Full throttle coming in. Flaps are set. Runway 29. I could sit in this thing for hours. In fact, I was filming yesterday and I was sat in this thing, and before I knew it, there was a knock on the door telling me that it was time to go. And that's the problem. It's so immersive. It's so incredibly immersive that you lose track of what is going on outside. You see what I mean? So it stutters on takeoff, but it doesn't do it when you're coming in. It's kind of weird. P3D V3, I think it is. Now the 3 screens, you know, some of you may fly with 3 screens already. I don't, I use a single, but I'm seriously thinking about just going to 3 screens now, because the peripheral vision that you get from 3 screens, and a lot of people who do racing sims use 3 screens, and with good reason. You know, the peripheral vision when you're racing, you've got cars all around you, is pretty necessary, I'd say. In a flight sim, it's more of a luxury. The 5 screen though, the 5 screen on the Duo, which gives you the left wing all the way around to right wing, that's, I can't describe how cool that is. The only thing I'd say about this is that I find this cockpit panel very slightly high. I personally, I think would want to bring the screens up just a touch more so I can get more visibility, because I'm kind of missing the bottom couple of inches here. But I mean, I'm quite tall, so I can more or less see over the top. But if I was smaller, I'm going to lose like a third of that screen. But you know, these G1000s take up a lot of space, and you could fit this with like radio equipment and not have that problem. Okay, this time remember to put the flaps in. Let's just trim back out. We'll do a standard sort of 1,000 feet pattern, if you like. We'll go forward a bit more, so we've got some room to glide in. Put some power back in and just hold the altitude. There we go. But yeah, you know, you've got having all the switches as well, just for all the lights. This is a luxury as well. You can get panels for this kind of thing, but just thinking about, you know, what I've got at home, or what most people have at home, this is like, it's just heaven. You know, instead of having to press keys or buttons on your HOTAS or whatever, you've got all these nicely labelled switches. If you turn the motion control off on this, I can't describe. When you're flying with this thing, the first time you fly it, you sort of get it. I think Jeff, you know, Jeff Favignano, who's here, he was getting a bit motion sick from the whole thing. I didn't suffer that problem. But at first it just felt a bit weird. Then I got used to it, and then I took it for granted, to the point where when I turned it off, the whole thing just felt dead. And then I thought to myself, you know what, when you get home and you're flying, that's exactly what it's going to feel like now. Because I've got this kind of jostling going on in the air, I've got this thing when I hit the tarmac. When I go home, it's just going to feel me and the screen. Okay, let's shoot this approach. So we are 1,000 feet. Let's start our descent. So we'll throttle down now. And as soon as I pull the throttle back, I can feel the nose of the aircraft pitch down, but we're descending at sort of 10 degrees. So we'll just trim that out a little bit. We're going to go to flaps 1, and we're going to try and bring that speed down. Actually, I shouldn't have gone to flaps 1 at this point because I'm actually going too quickly. Okay. We're coming in hot.
Shake rate.
I swear she said shink rate.
500.
I'm going to go for a flapless landing. Let's put the flaps on. Yeah, we're going to come in hot this time. We'll be fine. Completely minimum throttle, just gliding the whole thing in. Let's pull the nose up now. Lose a bit of that speed. Second stage of flaps. There's a bit of a bump there on the right, I don't know if you saw it or not. There we go. Take a little bit of fighting there because there's a bump just as you come in. Like, seriously, if you own this airfield, why would you not go and level that? Why would you leave that just to really annoy everybody there? Wow, there's actually people living in the houses on the right. I haven't spotted that before. So that is the so land lights off, taxi lights come on. We'll turn the strobe off as we leave the airfield, and we'll taxi back. Don't know much about this airfield, never flown it before. But yeah, the OVO 4 is what a piece of kit this is. So much fun. I was a bit concerned about being too hot in here, you know, because it's just a completely sealed pod, but with the air intake behind me and the ventilation coming in here, it's just really nice. Obviously, I think it depends on the outside air temperature though, so if you are in like a warm room, you're going to get warm air. So we're in a big kind of factory environment, so the air outside is fairly cool. But that's definitely a consideration because I don't think it cools the air. I don't think there's a refrigerating unit on it. Let's pull up over here. Anywhere here will do. And stop. Okay, so pull the parking brake lever. Parking brake is now on. Pull the mixture out. That's going to cut that. We'll turn the lights off, like so. Avionics can come off. Battery master off. And we're done. That is the Virtual Fly OVO 4. I really enjoyed my time with the OVO 4. I love the enclosed cabin aspect. I love the design of it. I love the simplicity of it. I love the immersion. You get inside, you shut the door, and it's nothing but you and flying. I also love how compact the whole simulator is. I'm pretty certain I could put one of these things in my living room, but, well, I'm not really sure the wife's going to agree with me on that one. The motion, though, is, I would describe as good, but not excellent. It simulates climbing and descent very well, but turbulence isn't simulated so well. And I think the mono and the on-top platforms, perhaps because they're actually, I couldn't see under the skirt, but I think they're like hydraulic rams, I assume that's what it is. They can give you the jarring forces a lot better than the axis forces that this thing generates. And I think that's part of the design of the OVO 4. I don't think there's any way around that. It's smooth, but it can't really simulate the kind of jarring effects that you can get from the mono platform. That was my experience anyway. However, on the taxiing, and particularly on the touchdown, the motion simulator is superb. I don't know how they've done it, but when you land in the Cessna 172, you just feel like the three wheels go down. It's amazing experience how it actually works. But I think, you know, despite the motion not being quite as good as the mono or the on-top platforms, the OVO 4 for me wins just because the immersion. It gets my award as best out of the three. That's what I would want. If I could pick one of those three, I would go for the OVO 4. For me, the primary goal of simulation is immersion, and that's what the OVO 4 delivers the best. If they could put 5 screens in that thing though, it would be amazing.